Hello, wonderful people who are joining us from wherever you are joining us from. I am Paige Delosier with Talking Points, and you are joining us for Talking Points Ask Me Anything. We are live every Thursday on Facebook and YouTube at 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern, and you can join us every Thursday to learn about family engagement. We choose a different topic to discuss every Thursday, and we'll talk about it for a little bit, and then we take your questions in the chat. We gather questions throughout the week from users, from folks who are just curious about talking points, curious about family engagement, and we talk about it and we answer your questions. So I'm excited to be here with you. This week, we are going to be talking about, got the wrong ones up here. We are going to be talking about 5 family engagement myths. And we're going to be busting those myths because family engagement is such an important part of education. And if we believe these myths, then we aren't truly using family engagement effectively to impact student outcomes. And so we've gathered these 5 myths together, and we're going to bust them wide open so that you can really make the most of your family engagement plan or program, what have you. So I'm excited to dig in here. We'll talk for a little bit, and then as you come up with your questions, throw them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. They can be about talking points. They can be about family engagement. They can be about these myths. Whatever you'd like to ask us, we're here to answer them. So let's dive right in. So let's look at these 5 family engagement myths. Myth number 1, family engagement can only be effective in person. This is one of those things that it just depends on what your experience has been, whether or not this is something that you have kind of burned into your brain, that family engagement is an in-person, event-based practice. But family engagement really is a wide spectrum of practices, and family engagement can be effective regardless of whether it's in person or tech-enabled like talking points. But when we think about what our education space looks like today, post-COVID, with a lot of schools being virtual, even with schools that are in person, you are unable to have every family come to every in-person event. It's near impossible even to have every family come for open house, to have every family come to in-person conferences. So it's time to kind of realize the power of tech-enabled family engagement like Talking Points. And we have data that shows, research that shows that the use of Talking Points specifically helps improve student outcomes like academics and attendance. And I'm going to put in the chat here a link to, let me grab it now, a link to that data so that if you want to share that with anybody or take a look at it yourself, you can see it, because it's time for a shift in mindsets, right? From family engagement means one thing to it can mean a lot of things. Those day-to-day conversations via text message, phone call, email, to we're having this huge literacy night and we need everybody to come. So really, family engagement means a lot more than just in-person events. So we've busted that one. Hopefully a lot of us have already been there and we already know that we've moved past that. Myth number 2, family engagement is only the responsibility of certain staff. Now, this could refer to certain district staff, certain school staff, certain teachers. I know that when I was teaching, and we talked about family engagement with, or engagement in general, with families who spoke other languages or families of students with disabilities, the engagement with those families fell specifically on the ENL teachers or specifically on the exceptional ed teachers. And really, family engagement is the responsibility of all stakeholders in the education process. There's a blanket behind me. That's what keeps showing. So when we think about a student, that student has an entire team of educators, a team of staff who are involved in their educational journey. And it shouldn't just be one person involving their family, engaging with their family throughout. It's great if there's one person who builds a very close relationship with their family and they feel like they can come to that person continually. That's fantastic. But engaging families in understanding the educational system, engaging them in how the school works and how they can get involved, all of that can't fall on one educator. All of the in-person events, all of the day-to-day communication, all of it can't fall on one person. So a lot of districts, a lot of schools have started to create committees for that and departments for that, but some elements of family engagement are the responsibility of a classroom teacher, some fall on the school site administrator, and some are district-wide. So really, we have to move away from this idea that family engagement, oh, that's their job. It's all of our jobs. It's everyone's responsibility. So, and if you have been with us for a while or come to any of our live streams, watched any of our live streams, you'll be familiar with Dr. Karen Mapp. She is a professor at Harvard's Graduate School of Education, and she's one of our advisors. Her dual capacity building framework for family school partnerships actually lays out a lot of the different roles of stakeholders and how important it is for all of the different stakeholders within that framework to be involved in order, including the family, in order for outcomes to occur, in order for students to be successful. So, boom, myth busted. Myth number 3, family engagement is time consuming. Now, this one can be true. And it has been true. I'm not going to tell you that if you believe this, you're wrong. But if family engagement is done effectively, if family engagement is done well, and if we evolve and adapt to using tech-enabled family engagement and using new tools that we have, then honestly, family engagement can save time. If we find tools like Talking Points that can allow us to utilize families as the superpower that they are to provide schools with the knowledge that they have about their students, if we use the tools that we have to schedule things ahead of time and to use templates that have been built to send messages, things like that, family engagement should be time saving because we're not making phone calls that aren't reaching anybody. We're not sending emails that just get lost or putting papers in backpacks that never come home or throwing events where nobody shows up. If we are doing family engagement effectively, and we provide best practices constantly through these live streams and through a lot of the resources that we put out at Talking Points, if you do follow us, when family engagement is done effectively, it's time saving, not time consuming. So, and I wanted to bring up a couple of I'm looking at my notes. Oh, according to Pew Research Center, 97% of Americans now own cell phones of some kind. And that means texting is the form of communication that, well, we know texting is the form of communication that almost everybody has and uses as their first touch point. So if we think about tech-enabled family engagement and just engaging on a daily basis, sending out announcements, important things, whether that's an alert or a reminder, what have you, that's a much quicker, much more time-saving way to communicate than a lot of our previously committed to forms of communication. So that's just one example. And I meant to say this at the beginning, that these 5 family engagement myths busted. We are coming out with a blog post next week of the same topic, so that if you missed the video or if you want to share this with somebody, but they're more of a reader than a watcher, you'll be able to share that as well. Boom, another myth busted. Myth number 4, family engagement breaks the bank. Again, this one can be true. As with most things in education, family engagement solutions do cost money. Everything seems to. And a lot of times that's the reason that it gets kind of pushed to the side and forgotten. And there's not enough funding to go around, and you just kind of have to pick, like, where's our money going to go this year? But when we provide a free solution to individual teachers, which we're so proud and excited to do every year, there's a free solution to teachers. And then we also provide a school and district product that can be paid for school-wide and district-wide. And we provide funding resources, funding source recommendations, so that you can look at all the sources of funding that your school or your district has, whether that's your general funding, tier, or not tier, Title I, Title III, Title IV, whatever it is that your funding is, where you have that funding left over. Our family engagement solution is research-based. Our family engagement solution is has shown impact. And so you can use that type of funding and get smart with that funding and spend it somewhere that it's going to have impact. And so whether that cost is what you expected or not, you see the impact from it immediately. So myth busted. And one more. Myth number 5, family engagement is the end goal. Now, this is another Karen Mapp reference. She's our favorite. So family engagement is what we talk about here at Talking Points constantly. Family engagement is important, and it is a driver of so many student outcomes. But it is not the end goal. The student outcomes are. We want students at school. We want them graduating on time. We want them succeeding academically. We want the desired behaviors. We want to see those. We want to improve student well-being. Those are the outcomes that we want to see. Family engagement is the driver to get there, because families are this superpower that are so tragically underutilized and underappreciated, because they know so much about their about their students, and they are so capable and so passionate about their children getting there. There's just not always the connection. There's a gap. And you know the phrase, we have to bridge the gap. And family engagement is how you bridge that gap. And finding the most effective way to do that is the trick. So remembering that just engaging them or involving them in some way is not the end goal. It's what you work at constantly in order to meet your goals. Boom. All right, so I know in these AMAs, we go through these talks really quickly, but like I said, we're coming out with a blog next week on the same topic. And if you have any questions about this one, you can toss them in the chat, and I'm happy to answer them. And you'll see all of what I talked about in the blog next week. So this was kind of a teaser for that. And the blog will be shareable. This recording will also be shareable if you'd rather share that as well. But it is FAQ time, actually time to ask me anything you'd like. We have some predetermined questions from our chats online and from our customer success team. So we have some teachers who have been asking about viewing their old messages and their old classes from last year and favoriting classes. So we'll do those two things separately. Let me pull up and share my account so I can show you how to do that. All right, so if you are in a school teacher account, which means that your account was paid for by your school or your district, this is not what it looks like. So let me get over to the teacher side real quick. All right, so let's say I'm a teacher. I'm going to go over to, if I want to see last year's classes, I'm going to go into my name and click Archived Groups. There might be classes here and there might not be. If you pay for if you use the free account, then there will only be classes there if you put them there. Otherwise, if you are on a school or district paid account, then your school will have archived them or will have taken them away. So if they're there, you have access. If they're not, you do not. So in order to see them, you will click Restore, confirm that you're going to restore them, and then go to your classes and groups. And you'll need to find it within the school or district that you're in. I'm in several because this is my test account, so I'll have to kind of dig in there for it because I do not remember where that one came from. So there are some of my classes there. I think it was a very old one. Okay, so that's how you will find last year's classes. If you have a class that you want to favorite to show up on your sidebar, and the reason that we've changed this setting is because a lot of teachers have a lot of classes. Let's think about those special areas teachers that see everybody in the whole school, or high school teachers who have several different courses and they've got just a whole sidebar of different classes. So if you need to favorite a class so that it will show up on your sidebar, come to classes and groups, find the ones that you want to see, and there's a star. And when you favorite it, there it is on the side. And you'll do the same thing to unfavorite it to remove it from the sidebar. And that's exactly how you'll bring it up. So then you don't have to come in here every time you want to see that class or interact with that class. So that is pulling them up and favoriting them. I have a couple other questions from my customer success team. But if you have any questions that you want me to answer live, go ahead and put them in the comments. And also know that I am happy to answer any questions that you want answered throughout the week. So when we're going to go live on a Thursday, if you come up with a question on a Tuesday, come to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and ask us that question and say, I want you to answer it on live Thursday. Let us know and I'll do that for you. That is awesome. Let's see. See some questions coming in. All right. Get back here. And okay, I'm going to show you one other thing that we got a question about. I need to go to the district administrators, if I can spell, profile. So if you are a district administrator, you have the dark blue dashboard. This is what yours looks like. And we've gotten some questions about the ability to pause class and group schedules for families, because if you are not ready for them to see their schedules because it's the beginning of the year, but they're logging into their talking points, you just need to hide those until you're ready for them to see who their teacher is. All of the stuff is finalized and you're ready for them. So let me pull that up for you. So, my link is, let's see. Sorry for the delay. I'm having technical difficulties, but if you have questions, put them in the chat, please. While I'm looking for that, I'll share the challenge for the week. And that is to share this recording, the link to our live, with your colleagues, your teammates on your grade level team or your school, so they know the truth about some of these family engagement myths. Because these are things that a lot of teachers and educators are still going by as far as family engagement. And it's a mindset that we all need to move beyond, not just some of us. These are believed by a lot of people. Okay, I think I have found what we're looking for. Excuse me. Okay, so hiding schedules. As a district administrator, you will go to settings and you will select for school year, not student messaging. You will select school year, turn off visibility. And that is what's going to make sure that your families and students do not see their schedules on their Talking Points account until you are ready for them to see it. So it's a bright red button so that you know exactly what it is that you're doing, and it says on and off when it is on and off, so that we don't have families confused seeing one schedule and then your stuff changes because it's not ready for the year yet. So if you are a district administrator or have access to that and you need to change, turn off schedule visibility, go to settings, school year, turn off visibility. That's where we need to turn that off. That is a very helpful feature there. All right. I have a few more minutes to stay online. If anybody has any additional questions for us, I'm here to answer them. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen. Let me if there were any of the new features last week that we showed that you'd like me to walk through, or anything that you are curious about as a non-Talking Points user, I'm happy to go over those in the next few minutes. We have a few minutes before I hop off for the evening. But so happy you joined us. And I will also put in the comments that link to funding source recommendations that I mentioned earlier. Good question. Thank you. So this document will show the different ways that you're able to pay for a school or district level Talking Points partnership. And as always, individual teacher accounts are free. So if you're watching this live or not, and you are thinking, Talking Points seems like the way that I need to be engaging with families, you can sign up right now on your phone or on the web and start interacting with families. You do not have to wait. Stay on for a couple more questions, and then we can jump off. See if there was anything else about these myths that I meant to share. Oh, here's a fun fact. A data point that supports family engagement being not the end goal, but a driver for all of your student goals is that family engagement has shown to be 2 times more effective in predicting student success than their socioeconomic status. And every time I hear that data point, it sticks with me because as a teacher, I was constantly told just the term socioeconomic status is just mentioned so many times constantly, and you just kind of drilled in your head that like that's where they are, that's where they're coming from, and that just sets a child up for so much, whether good or bad. And that's not to say that it doesn't have an effect, but if we can get families engaged and involved in a positive way with their educators, that's going to make the biggest difference in where their student ends up and the success that they have than anything else. So that's what really makes a difference. I feel like I bring up that data point every live, but it's worth it. Okay, it looks like we don't have any more questions for today, so I'm gonna hop off, and I encourage you to share this and next week's blog, which summarizes all of these myths and the data to support their falsehood, next week on the 13th, I believe is when that's gonna go live. So keep following us, keep watching for more resources and more best practices. Log into your Talking Points account and connect with families on a daily basis. We appreciate you, and I love spending this time with you. So we'll see you next week. Thank you so much.